Hello, everyone. This is Stephanie Elwood coming at you live from the Southern University Ag Center SNAP Ed program. I'm the Growing Healthy Coordinator. I work with our community and school gardens where we teach nutrition education. And today we're going to take a tour of this special garden and we're going to talk about a pollinator garden and why pollinators are important. So if we look right here, our first plant and star is this basil. And if you see how I allowed the basil to go to seed because the basil makes flowers and that attracts our pollinators. So we have basil, we have edible ginger right here that can be eaten. You can cook with the tops, you can cook with the bottoms right here. We have flowers in our garden. This is tibouchina. And even if you're doing a vegetable garden, it is very, very important for you to plant flowers as well. Let's talk about the importance of that. So in the spring, you have cucumbers, you have tomatoes, you have all kinds of fruits and vegetables, and they all make a flower before they make your fruit. So when they make a flower, the flower has to be pollinated by a pollinator in order for the fruit to produce. I talk about the seed kind of being like when a human woman gets pregnant, there has to be a fertilization process, and then the fruit is what surrounds your seed. So that's like the pregnant plant. Okay, so that's called sexual propagation. That's when you have one flower to another flower, the pollen transfer and the fertilization, which creates the fruit. There's also something called asexual propagation, where you can create a whole new plant just from a cutting. So that would be like a clone. But today we're talking about pollinators and why they're important. Let's continue our tour. We've got the tibouchina behind it. We have some iris. We have some different herbs here in this garden. We have sage, we have parsley. Parsley is a really good plant for our pollinator garden because butterflies actually love to eat parsley. Of course, we put butterfly weed in our garden because that attracts the caterpillars of butterflies. Butterflies are really wonderful pollinators. There are some plants that the butterflies eat the actual plant, like the butterfly weed. And then there are some plants that produce flowers that attract the adult butterflies. So remembering to put things in our garden to attract bees, and also to put things in our garden that attract butterflies. We want beneficial insects. We want pollinators. So we want things like ladybugs in our garden, because when ladybugs make their larvae, ladybug larvae are actually what eats all of those little green aphids on plants. Whenever we have an infestation of green aphids, if you see ladybugs in your garden, that's a good thing because they're producing their babies that eat all of those green aphids. That's why ladybugs are beneficial to our garden. So we have blueberry bushes. Without pollinators, our blueberries would not get fertilized, and we would just have blueberries. Oh, we have a star of our show right here. A nice butterfly in our garden today. Right here we have basil that's going on. Again, I allow this basil to go to seed because when we're eating basil, we eat the basil leaves. But right here you allow it to go to seed because it makes flowers. And when the flowers are gone, or when the flowers are there, you have your bees. I had about 10 bees around this bush a minute ago. I guess because I'm close, they went away. But we have the flowers, and then when the flower's gone, we have the actual seed that comes right here. You allow it to dry, you can save the seed, and then grow it again next year. So allowing different things like your basil to go to seed is important. Having different flowers in your garden is important. Right here, we have a pretty rose that attracts bees as well. Let's see, right here we have one of our favorites up at Southern. I don't know if you guys can see it very well. Does anyone know what that is? It's hibiscus roselle, Rosa de Jamaica. So this is a really special plant because you can actually eat the leaf off of it. I'll prove it to you, just like I prove it to my students. It's got a very sour taste to it. I tell my students kind of like a lemon head, but it's very high in vitamin C. You see right here, it produces a flower. looks like an okra flower. And then underneath it is what we call the calyx, that red part. And actually what happens is the flower goes away and the calyx swells. And the calyx is the part that we actually harvest and make tea out of. If anyone has ever had red hibiscus tea, that's exactly where this comes from. The Rosa de Jamaica grows really well in our climate, in our zone down here. Now, we have to plant it on time because whenever the frost comes, if it gets 40 or below, it's really going to knock out that, it's going to kill the plant. So it's an annual down here, but if you start the seeds inside around Mardi Gras in February, put them out after the danger of frost has left, then you'll have some full grown hibiscus roselle like these right here in this garden, and you'll be able to harvest off of it. The seeds are really easy to keep. The seeds are a lot like okra seeds, so you can save the seeds out of it, allow the pod to dry, save the seeds, and then plant them again next year because they're not exactly the easiest to find. But it's Rosa de Jamaica, Jamaican roselle. You make the tea out of it. It is very high in vitamin C, helps lower your blood pressure. And I know at the Ag Center, we do a lot of research on it, and we drink a lot of hibiscus tea at the Ag Center. So down here, we have some more basil that has been allowed to go to seed. The same thing's going to happen with the basil. Once the frost comes under 40 degrees, we're plant. But if we grow the seeds here, so just a few more, we have some more pollinators in our garden. We have some flowers that we want to have. And same thing, if you're growing fruits and vegetables, you want to make sure that you incorporate flowers as well, because just those really small flowers that come on your cucumber plant or come on your tomato plant, they're the ones that are going to be attracting the bees. But if you can put something like a zinnia into your garden, then you're going to attract more bees, more butterflies, and have more pollinators. So remember, when you're planting your fruit or vegetable garden, it's important to incorporate flowers into it for your pollinators, attract pollinators, have your honeybees, have your ladybugs, have your butterflies. That way you can have a successful garden, not only for you, but for the environment as well. So that's our talk today about pollinator garden. If you have any questions, please feel free to go to our website, www.suagcenter.com, and feel free to take a few minutes, probably 2 minutes, and fill out the post survey here on the Facebook page. Thank you all so much, and happy planting.